Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's doing well. I'm really happy to see all of you here. Um, I'm going to run this banner right now for a little bit, and then I'm going to switch it over to the Flora banner. So just bear with me with that. I just want to have that one on here for a while. Hey, Lynn, it's so good to see you here. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Corgi Mama. Good to see you as well. Hey, Unsolved. How are you? So good to have you here, everyone. Welcome, Unsolved Crimes Uncovered. She is the newest moderator on my channel. So please, everyone, give her a very warm welcome. Hey, John. How are you? It's good to see you. AJ, how are you? We have missed you. So good to have you with us. Hey, Digital. Always good to see you. So glad you're here. Hey, Ann Vroom. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us. Hey, Jane from the country. How are you? It is awesome. That's our own one and only Tech Death. He is amazing. Hey, 1L Michelle. How are you? It's so good to have you with us. I am Sally Ann. I'm actually feeling better today. Had a rough night last night, but today I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for asking. Hey, Truth Justice, always good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Meow Zedong, so good to have you here. Everyone, welcome to Meow Zedong, who runs the Flora for Reddit subreddit. Hey, Zooter15, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Always so nice to have you guys here. Hey, Carrie. Is it Monleo? I hate to butcher people's names. I'm sorry. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Perry. Good to have you. So glad you're here. Aren't her videos amazing? They're amazing. We're going to be talking a little bit about them tonight. Hey, CJK. Always good to have you with us. Welcome. Hi, Tamara. So good to have you. I've missed you. Good to see you. Hey, Tech Death. There's our Tech Death, one and only, our musician. Amazing. Monulo. Thank you for helping me there. Monulo. Thank you, Carrie. Hi, Katie Kitty. I see that you're new. Welcome. We're very glad to have you. Hey, Alicia. Good to see you. Yeah, Meow's got some really good information as well. Most definitely. I'm really glad that you guys are all here with us tonight. I think we'll have a really good discussion, and I hope people can learn some stuff. Digging into this case deeply, getting deeper every day, and the more I'm finding out about Flora and the fires, the scarier it becomes. Frightening, actually. There's some real serious stuff going on in this area. Oh, Carrie, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. I certainly appreciate that. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight was back in July of 2017, they had a article that appeared in the Indy Star. Hey, True Crime Web. Thank you so much. So glad to see you. Hey, DGR Dave. Thank you for coming. So anyway, they had this article that appeared in the Indy Star, and Galen Rose, they had some pictures that they had set up outside of the house with the girls, some of their ribbons and their favorite colors around the pictures. And Galen Rose stood outside her home dressed in a nightgown, frantically yelling to her children. Coming from inside the burning home were the desperate screams of 4 little girls. I just can't even imagine what that must have been like that night, to stand there and observe this. A neighbor, Jeff Cook, rushed out of his home. He saw the flames shooting through his neighbor's home, and then through the fog of smoke, he saw Galen Rose. I failed, she told him. I couldn't get to my babies. Sobbing, Galen Rose lamented to Cook that as much as she had tried, the power of the black smoke had beaten her back from her girls' bedrooms. Others tried, too, but the flames engulfed the Flora home so rapidly, it looked hopeless from the very start. Soon the screams subsided. From a distance, a neighbor watched firefighters bring the girls' bodies out on stretchers. Kiana Davis, age 11. Kiara Phillips, age 9. Carrielle McDonald, age 7. And Kiani Welch, age 5. All died in that early morning hour of November 21st, a Monday, in their bedroom of their home. And more than 7 months later, the people in Flora, a town with 2,000, that is barely larger than 1 square mile, are mired in grief, fear, and suspicion, still wondering if the fire was intentionally set. Rumors fly freely with few facts available to counter them. Reminders of the fire linger on the quiet Flora street as the house still stands, all boarded up. The residence, a duplex with 2 apartments, stands on a corner just steps from Flora's downtown. The home is blackened by soot and smoke, but children's toys are strewn across the porch, untouched by the fire. Even now, gusts of wind carry the burned, acrid smell of the home across this neighborhood, and the screams of the little girls still haunt those who remain and who witnessed everything happening late in the middle of the night. After years of setbacks, Tracy Rose and his family were building a life in Flora. Tracy is the grandfather of the girls, and he went to prison for drug crimes when his daughter Galen was just 12 years old. In 2011, he came back into her life and into the lives of his grandchildren. After he was released from prison, he became sober. He moved to Flora when his aunt found him work there. And Galen Rose, age 29 at the time, struggled as a single mother. She eventually followed him to Flora from Missouri to be close to their family. Through her father, Galen Rose said she was not prepared to talk about the loss of her daughters for this story. She and her daughters lived with her father, for 8 months. Tracy Rose said until Galen secured her own apartment with more space. The apartment was the first floor of the duplex that burned, and it had a large front porch on a tree-lined street, and the girls were often found playing outside with each other. They were friendly and polite, often saying hello to those who lived nearby. They played with my dog, recalled Chastity Fox, a neighbor. They were the first ones that got her to play fetch. She had never fetched before. The girls were the ones who were able to do that. The Friday before the fire, Tracy Rose was supposed to be packing up for a trip to Tennessee. He was beset with a feeling that he didn't want to go out of town, but he didn't know why. Rose lives in a small white house just blocks from where his daughter and granddaughters lived. The girls had a busy weekend ahead of them. They had a cheerleading competition on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Kiana, the oldest, had a basketball game. Kiana loved basketball, and Rose predicted she would have been a star in high school. He often went to her games, cheering her on from the sidelines. On Sunday night, Tracy Rose got on the phone from Tennessee with his daughter Galen during Kiana's game. "What's she doing now?" Rose asked his daughter, who gave a play-by-play of the game. Hours later, he was awakened by a call. It was Galen. She said his granddaughters had been killed. "My girls were everything," Galen said in an interview with the Indy Star, breaking down in tears. In his grief, he recalled the last time he saw his granddaughters. It was the Friday before the fire, and he was preparing to leave town the next day. The girls, who called him Pawpaw, had come to help him pack for his trip. They asked him not to go. "It was strange," Rose said. "They did not want me to leave." The day after the fire, the Department of Homeland Security, in a statement, said the cause of the blaze was still undetermined, but it may have started in the kitchen of the lower unit, where Galen Rose's family lived, and it was possible behind the refrigerator. 2 months later, the department released information that rocked the small town. Investigators found accelerants, plural, in the structure and ruled it an arson. Investigators declined to talk more about the investigation and would not offer more details about the type of accelerants that were found. Officials have not released any information or named any suspects. They say they are no longer speaking publicly about this case, and it remains under investigation. "It seems like it's a cold case already," said Fox, the neighbor. "The uncertainty has led to a creeping anxiety in this town, particularly when paired with another recent tragedy suffered in Carroll County just 3 months after these fires. Just 8 miles away from Flora, Liberty German and Abigail Williams were killed in Delphi in February, another unsolved killing that has resulted in unease and suspicion. Flora has commemorated the 6 girls with a bench engraved with each girl's name and age, and flowers lay on the seat. Eve Gibson, a Flora resident, put her face in her hands and cried when she spoke about the girls. Hold on a second. For whatever reason, my computer is acting crazy. I don't know why it's doing that. They can't let that go, Gibson said, speaking about the investigation and the lack of recent news. These were 4 innocent little girls. Gibson said people in town have speculated on who might have set the fire, including wondering if any family members could have done it. Such talk angers Fox. She watched the girls' mother scream in pain, powerless to save her children. Everybody wants to point the finger at someone else, Fox said, and it really hurts. A recent local news report offered a twist that for some raised questions about whether the fire was actually intentionally set. WTHR TV in June reported that arson investigator Dennis Randall resigned after a private investigator who was consulting on the case questioned whether the state hastily reached its conclusion about arson. In a letter to the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, and Indiana Fire Marshal James Greason posted by WTHR, the consultant, whose name is redacted, writes that the state's conclusions are not correct and completely based on speculation and not evidence. Tracy Rose believes the fire was an accident and is upset about the rumors swirling around the town. He says the family has no enemies in Flora. I don't like talkers, Rose said. An IDHS spokesperson confirmed that Randall resigned but declined to answer further questions, referring them to the Indiana State Police. Indy Star filed a public records request for the letter from the private investigator, as well as all related correspondence. And officials have acknowledged that the request and told Indy Star it is under review. Indiana State Police, though, stand by the conclusion that the fire was intentionally set. Captain Dave Burston said. You all will remember that Captain Dave Burston also is involved with Delphi. Carroll County Prosecutor Robert Ives also said he believes the fire was also intentionally set, based on his knowledge of the investigation. These are horrible, terrible tragedies, Robert Ives said, speaking about the killings in Delphi and Flora. This is the worst time that I can ever remember in Carroll County. And just 5 months later, he would resign. Now, the residents of Flora are left to wonder whether there is a killer in their midst. This used to be a very open and friendly community, Cook said. The town is still open, but we're just nervous. The day after the fire, Fox's husband had to call off work. Her brother became sick, and Fox herself had trouble breathing. The 27-year-old woman who lives just steps from the home grows tearful when she thinks about what Galen is going through. But she also sees the scars the fire left on their neighborhood. To hear the girls screaming for their mothers, Fox said, is the most devastating thing that anyone could ever hear. Fox and her husband stepped out of their apartment the night of the fire to look at what they first thought was a strange, dense fog. They quickly realized it was smoke, and then the flames engulfed the house. They felt powerless. Fox said her brother considered running into the home to help, but they had watched emergency personnel try to enter only to be forced back out. That night, Tracy Rose was stuck in Tennessee but stayed on the phone with his daughter for as long as he could. Now his home is still cluttered with his granddaughter's toys, signs of their presence everywhere. He keeps their school pictures with him in his car. He just experienced the first 4th of July without them. The girls, he said, his voice shaking, they were my heart. Authorities are asking the community for help solving this case. Police are offering a reward of up to $5,000 for information that leads to an arrest. Citizens can donate to the reward fund by sending a check to the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. To ensure the donation goes to the appropriate account, please put on the memo line the Flora fire reward. Now, what I gathered out of all this, obviously the story that was written. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. I'm so glad that you guys are patient with me. This last month has been so hard on me, and I apologize. Must be terrible sitting there expecting to have a show and listen to the person you're listening to cough. But I think I got it. I think I caught it soon enough, and I got my inhaler here, my trusty inhaler. So I should be okay. What I was gonna say, and what I started to say about this article that I just read to you was, it's a pretty good telling of what happened that night from the eyes of witnesses, is what I found interesting. I have seen a lot of accounts of what happened that night, but I hadn't seen a lot in print that witnesses actually talked about what they saw, what they heard. Um, Thank you guys so much. And everybody has been so critical of Galen in this whole thing. And I think that, you know, just listening to the witnesses describe the agony that this mother was in, knowing what was happening in that house and knowing that her children were dying and she could not get to them. And then silence goes, everything just goes silent. And you know, at that point, they're probably gone. And I just don't know how anyone can report on this story or talk about this story and not have deep emotion for her as a mother. And I'm just going to say that right off the bat. And that's one of the things that I got from that story. What I started to say at the beginning of the show, going through, I've been doing a lot of investigation myself, but I've also been talking a lot to Meow and also to Unsolved Crimes. And we have talked, all of us, you know, not together collectively, but separately. There's a lot going on that people are not aware of. There is a lot. And there's a lot of things that I think are being swept under the rug or kept from the public's eye. Statistics that are suddenly just not there anymore. Because all of the things that Unsolved has been doing, she's found all on public. These are all public records. This isn't anything that was released by accident, by law enforcement, or anything. These are all statistics and documents that are out there, either from the state of Indiana, the CDC. I mean, she's found this information because it's public information and she just went looking for it. And I really feel stronger every day, stronger than ever, that there is somebody out there that doesn't want this, that doesn't want to see this case solved, that doesn't want people to put two and two together. And if you recall, early on, after Flora happened, and then when Delphi occurred, there was this big online presence of those two cases aren't related. Those two cases aren't related. How could those two cases be related? Why would they say that all of a sudden just because how would they know that they hadn't even done any investigation of either one of them, for that matter, to be able to come out and say they're not related? It bothers me because had it been something that happened down the line a year after they had been investigating both the fire as well as the murders in Delphi, maybe I could believe it if they would, you know, reference why they feel that way. But with everything that we're finding, it very well possibly could be an escalation or a what am I trying to think of? My mind is a bit blank right now. They changed the pattern of how they were murdering from arson to murder. It is possible. It's not unheard of. These things do happen. Serial killers, serial murderers, serial arsonists, whatever, can escalate and they can change depending on why they're doing it or whatever. There's a lot of things going on here that need to be looked at. One of the things that bothers me, yes, Tamara, same team of investigators. We're talking about a small rural area in Midwest USA. You don't have multiple teams of investigators and all these different, for 1,000 officer staff of police officers or whatever, or fire departments. You have volunteer fire departments. You have county sheriffs that maybe have 5 to 8 officers if they're lucky, depending on the size of your county. I mean, the investigative team in these cases are the same. These are the same people. The prosecutor is the same, or was the same. Robert Ives was the prosecutor for Delphi as well as for the Flora fire. A lot of people believe that he possibly retired so quickly and left because of the heat of both of these cases and the fact that they were not solved. They didn't look like they were getting anywhere with either one of them. And it's very, very possible, Unsolved said it, it's very, very possible that that children are actually being targeted, and it could be a hate crime. And people don't want to talk about that. I mean, just look at the history of our country. And when we talk about these kinds of things, people don't want to talk about the fact that they exist, that it still goes on. There are multiple organizations in this part of the country who all they do is spread hate. And they are active. These are not groups that are no longer out there or a thing of the past. These are groups that are still extremely active in this part of the country. And I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm saying it's possible, and we need to look at it. It needs to be investigated. And I don't feel that anybody's giving it any investigation. They're not even trying to look at that angle of this. I think they've gotten tunnel vision. And sadly, that can happen in cases where they want to look at just one direction and focus on one thing and one direction. And I think we saw that in Delphi early on. For 2 years, they were focusing on the wrong thing. And that's not saying that it was purposeful, but you got to start asking questions as to why. And nobody wants to answer them. What better way to shut the public completely out than to look at that case in Flora and say, we're not going to talk about Flora anymore. We're not going to talk about Flora. We're not going to tell you what happened that night. We're not going to release the 911 call. We don't have to. The 911 call is public. It's in the public domain. They don't normally go to the extent that they have in Flora to keep a 911 call from being released. And for them to say that it would absolutely hurt the case, I want to know how. I want to know what possibly could be on that 911 call that would hurt this case. I think that the problem with the 911 call is the person who reported the fire called the landlord first. They did not call the fire department. They didn't call 911. They called the landlord to say, hey, you might want to know that your house is on fire. And I don't think the landlord called 911. And they don't want that out because it could point fingers back at them as being negligent or, whatever. I just can't figure it out. I just can't. But yes, that's what happened. The person called the landlord and they didn't call 911. And they gave them the heads up. And, there's just, like I said, Unsolved explains it so well in her videos. If one of my wonderful moderators could go in and drop Unsolved Crimes Uncovered's YouTube channel for me, please, in the chat so people can go look. She's got 2 really good videos that she's dropped. She also, Alexa's talking to us. She also has a new one that she's working on that I'm anxious for her to get out as well. But please go subscribe and hit the bell on her account so that you can get notified when she does drop a video, because you guys, she's really doing wonderful work. But she brings up some of this stuff very well. She points out some of these things, and this person that she's looking at, whoever this person is that has this arsonist or whoever that's targeting these homes with these female children in them, when you look at the statistics and the fires and how they're happening, it's really hard to not see this pattern. And there's a number of reasons of why we feel that way. I don't think it's a good thing right now to release to everybody everything that we know, because there's just some things that are quite dangerous. We have to remember when we're covering Delphi and when we're covering these unsolved crimes, especially, that we have active killers still on the loose out there. And it's a dangerous situation. So we need to protect everyone. So we have to be very careful and tread lightly on how we cover it and how we talk about it. Again, some of the things that we're finding are factual facts. They're actual true facts and statistics. But as far as pointing a finger at who this is, we can't do that. There's things that lead us certain directions, but again, you don't want to go out there and point fingers. It's really not a good thing for us to do that. It's a good thing for us to gather what information we find and turn it over to authorities that can actually do something with that information. And at this point in time, it would be the FBI. I don't feel comfortable turning this over to anybody in Flora or Carroll County, for that matter. I'm suspicious of what's going on there. Yes, the Delphi Fire Department arrived first. The mom has a federal lawsuit against a number of people. The interesting thing there, there was the person who owns the house him and his partner own it, but it's owned under a company. So it's hard for them to be pointed at as being culpable. And I think that it's going to be interesting how that plays out. But yeah, she does have a lawsuit. And Meow says, ha ha ha, I sent so many reports to the FBI, I think I'm annoying them. Keep annoying them, because, you know, what is our parents and what did our grandparents always tell us? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And we're going to get lucky. And somebody is going to take us seriously. And somebody is going to look at this and grab their arms around it and say, you know what? We need to look at this stuff. We need to dive deeper. I wish so badly that I could get a really good national investigative reporter on this story, because I think that's what it's going to take. You know what, Tamara? I don't have to read articles. I know people who have actually gone to Delphi and to Flora and have spoke to the community. Not only do they not trust local authorities, but they don't trust each other. There is like a, how do I want to explain it? It's like everybody looks at everybody. Hey guys, it's starting to storm here. So if for some reason I just kind of go out, please know that it's not on purpose. But yeah, we're supposed to have some really bad storms tonight. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. I hope it doesn't happen, because I really like being here with you than not being here. But I definitely think there's corruption in this area, and I don't know if the corruption has seeped into the cases, but it makes one wonder. And, you know, you have to, at some point, you have to start asking questions. There's mystery and unanswered questions. And whenever you have that, people are going to start, they're going to start filling in those voids and those vacuums of information for themselves. And I don't understand why there's not more coverage of what's going on here when you have these multiple fire deaths and the suspicious fires that are pretty much deemed arson. How you can't come to a conclusion that you have a serial arsonist running around. Just that. Whether or not you compare it to what's going on and what happened with Delphi. I mean, how can you just not, how can you not look at that? You know, it bothers me. Qwerty, thank you so much. You are amazing. Thank you for being here and for supporting my channel. So seriously. I'm just, you know, you amaze me. Thank you so much. See, that's what I'm hoping for, Truth Justice. We need to have some sort of a campaign, whether it's all of us or whatever, but we need to get the national news on this. We need to have CNN cover this, or somebody come in and cover this. You know, I was thinking Anderson Cooper would be my choice to have, because he would delve right into it. But I was just thinking to myself that there's got to be somebody out there who cares about kids and cares about what's happening here to these poor children. The fact that they're all dying in the middle of the night between 3:30, 2:30. That's weird to me. Why all the same time of night? There are just so many. Yeah, Unsolved said, if anybody knows how to get a hold of Brian Enton, now is a great time. We need to figure out how to get a hold of these people so that we can present what we know. To me, if I worked with the Indiana State Police, if I was a person who was employed by them, and my colleague died in an arson fire along with her daughter, and I knew that she was actively working on the Flora fires, I would be saying, hey, what the hell? What the hell? I can't say it, you guys, any plainer than that. That's highly suspicious. And then you've got her husband, who's a judge, and people are like, well, they could have been aiming for him. He was out of town. They knew. Whoever set that fire knew who was in that house. Trust me. They knew. And so, and that just happened this year. That was in February of this year, February 2022. And in January of 2022, we have the Rossville fire, where the two sisters die in that fire, the two little girls. And I'm like, that's in January. This person's bold. Whoever is, Meow, are you asking the question or are you just stating it? Yes, Stephanie's husband was a judge. SD, we believe that the house was appraised twice, and it was by MBP appraisals. No problem, Meow. I thought it was a statement. I wasn't sure, and I wanted to make sure. So I don't want to misquote or missay anything to anybody. So and the other thing I wanted to bring out about that article, did you notice how they said that the police put up the reward for the Flora girls, $5,000? And there is absolutely no donations by anyone in the community since. I mean, they're talking about $5,000, and they tell you how you as the community can go give money to that fund, that reward fund, and there's been none. And I'm like, what is going on? And then get this, to send in or to give a tip today in the Flora fire, how do you guys think you have to go about doing that? Anybody? You have to mail it. You don't email it, you mail it by snail mail, your tips on Flora. Are you kidding me? What happened to the tip line that they had set up early on? Why wasn't the tip line incorporated into the Delphi tip line? To me, that would have made sense because they're 8 miles apart. Why wouldn't they have done that? A P.O. box? Are you kidding me? I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it, you guys. We're in 2022. We are in a digital age. We've got computers. We carry them around with us. I mean, it seriously, are you kidding me? I was like, I just thought it was crazy. We have Delphi that's got They had multiple lines, phone numbers that you could call for Delphi. You could email Delphi. You could contact the FBI. I mean, it's just, there you go. There you go, Truth Justice. You are right. Somebody or some buddies don't want this case solved, and they definitely don't want it connected to Delphi. And I feel that strongly now. I just do. I just do. When you start looking at this stuff this way, obviously people speculate on stuff all the time and it goes off the rails and we end up with crazy, crazy speculative ideas. But that's not what any of us are doing here. That's not what Truth Justice is doing in his subreddit. That's not what Meow's doing in their subreddit. And that is definitely not what Unsolved Crime is doing. None of that. Oh, they call me worse than that, hun. They call me worse than crazy. I'm fine. I got broad shoulders. I'm good. I'm really good. But so I wanted you guys to watch something with me. I'm going to share my screen. I thought that this would be interesting. We all are familiar with Rafael Sanchez, and Rafael's amazing. And I almost think it wouldn't be bad to contact him and let him know what we've found. Thank you, Tamara. I know you do. I know you do. But I think Rafael would be a good one before he retires or leaves. He's with RTV6, if you guys aren't familiar, with him, out of Indianapolis. But we're going to listen to him. Hold on a second. It's not very long. It's only 3 minutes. Yeah. Hey, Lipsha. Hello. I missed you. So good to see you. How are things? Hey, Melodramatic Monday. You're for sure that's true. You are so sure. There you go, Zooter. That's QWERTY. We like QWERTY. They are so, I love when they're here and they talk. They're so quiet. They just stealthily appear, and I like when they actually talk. Hey, Miss Thang. Good to see you. Hang on, I'm going to take a drink real quick. I'm getting my voices going. Okay, so let me share my screen with you all. And let me make this big. There we go. And it's really storming outside, you guys. I mean, really storming.
Dollars, and the man said the money has yet to turn over the dollars to the reward fund. The death of 4 beautiful girls in a house fire in Flora struck a nerve across Indiana and the country. Neighbors and strangers with a common goal: to help the family.
It shows that there are a lot of people from across the country that have good hearts, that want to see justice for these girls.
Misty of Flora is well aware of the Facebook group called Flora's Fantastic Four. It was set up to raise money to encourage people to increase tips involving the fatal fire in Carroll County. Misty sent Brian Muhe, who's leading the collection, a check for $50 last month. For her contribution, she received this thank you message from Brian. The money has yet to make it to the reward fund.
I personally was crushed that Brian did this. I trusted him. Other people trusted him. We had faith in him. And we were shocked and devastated to find out that that money never went to where it was supposed to go.
As a mother, Mara in Arizona feels connected to the Flora story. She's upset that she's been unable to reach Brian and get an accounting of all the money her friends donated.
He's caused so much heartache and so much chaos across
social media as it is with other people, that I think that he just needs to sit down and pray that this doesn't get any worse for him.
On May 23rd, Brian posted the group had raised $300 for the fund. We checked with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, which manages the reward fund. The agency has not seen a penny from this Facebook collection. I did reach out to Brian Muhe. He has yet to return any of my calls or Facebook messages. He also is going Erica by the name of Brian C. Mook. Even there, multiple messages throughout the day. Nothing from him. We'll keep trying. We want to know, where are the hundreds of dollars meant for those girls?
So, Raphael, right now, what is the reward in this case, and what's the safest way to donate?
Yeah, the Crime Stoppers reward is now up to $5,000 for any information leading to any tips that can figure out exactly what happened there in Flora. But really, the best way to donate your money right now, if you want to help this family and increase the reward, is to send a check to the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. And here's the information. It's 302 West Washington Street. That's room E208. Indianapolis. The zip code is 46204. When you send that check, make sure that on the memo line you put in the Flora Fire Fund. That is really, Erica, the safest way to make sure that your dollars go to the right place to help this family. Anything else really would be questionable. And as you know, I often look into schemes and those kinds of things. I wouldn't do it unless I send it to the state. They know where the money is going to go. They know how to use it best.
Yes, best to know you're doing it the correct way. Thank you, Raphael.
Okay, come on.
Been a year since an arsonist set fire to this house, killing 4 young girls. And although investigators have not made any arrests in the case, this community is far from giving up hope.
Every year I go out to school for Veterans Day.
November 11th, 2016, 9-year-old Kiara Phillips handed Charles Simpson a gift that means even more now than it did then.
She came up to me and just looked at me and smiled. I'll never get a smile. Said, I love you. I gave me the card.
10 days later, investigators say someone set fire to Kiara's house, killing her and her 3 sisters, Kiana, Carrielle, and Keone. That handwritten card reads as follows.
On the outside, it says, thank you. You're a veteran. You gave us freedom, and you are brave. You're protecting us, and have a happy Veterans Day. Sincerely, Kiara. I love you from Kiara.
For the last year, Charles and his wife Joyce have worked to increase the reward money for information that leads to the arsonist. Right now, she's selling cookbooks that contain some of the girls' favorite recipes.
We lost 4 little girls in our community. And every time you would go by their house and everything, they would be outside playing, waving.
Now that house sits unlivable, charred, and boarded up, the center of an investigation that has come under public scrutiny. In October of this year, the family requested that the NAACP get involved on their behalf.
Nobody's been brought to justice. Nobody is talking to the family to even update them on the status of the investigation.
Less than 3 weeks later, the Carroll County prosecutor and Flora fire chief announced their resignations, raising even more questions.
Thank you for being here and giving me a chance.
In a recent press conference, State Police Superintendent Doug Carter said keeping the family apprised of all case developments could jeopardize its integrity.
Everybody's a suspect until they're not.
He also refuted suggestions of a cover-up or that the girl's race is a factor in the case's slow progress.
I hope one day I can look into the eyes of a person who killed 4 little girls and then explain to you what we knew and when. But criticize me all you want to. I'm not going to do it today.
In loving memory of all my babies.
Joyce reads a letter inserted in her cookbook submitted by the mother of those girls who have come to be known as Flora's 4 Angels.
November the 21st, 2016 is the day I will never forget.
Gone,
I just couldn't imagine losing all 4 of my kids.
but certainly not forgotten.
We aren't going to let this die.
Chance Waltzer, RTV6.
Now to a closer look at the timeline of the Flora case. The investigation started 1 year ago today on November 21st, 2016. Initially, investigators did not have a cause. Then, in late January, state police ruled it arson. In June, after repeated media probes, investigators confirmed they were interviewing persons of interest, but they said they had no suspects. Then earlier this month, the Carroll County prosecutor announced his resignation, followed by a similar announcement from Flora's fire chief.
I'm just sitting here shocked. Again, I mean, I've watched these clips, but I mean, seriously, every time you watch them and you rewatch them, you're just sitting here going, what is going on? I mean, we all know that with this day and age, you have to be very careful online when you are giving money anywhere, because there are just bad people in this world that are willing to take advantage of anyone who has been hurt or whatever. We've had people who have posed that they have life-threatening diseases, or their children do. With GoFundMes. I understand that there's a GoFundMe that was recently put up for the Flora girls. I don't know who's running it. Somebody sent it to me an email, I believe. I did go and look at it. I know that GoFundMe tries to vet this stuff, but I know they don't do as good of job, because we've heard of the stories and the cases, especially with GoFundMes. So just be careful when you are donating. As far as I'm concerned, if you want to donate to any of these things, you want to do it through the police or through whatever the family has set up. Those are the ones that you know are legitimate, and that you know the money is going to go for the right cause. This person on Facebook who set out to get money from people, okay, he got $300, but that's a lot of money for some. That's a lot of money. And, to just be able to get it fraudulently and walk away, that's very upsetting. At least it is to me. So, be careful of the scams out there, you guys, because they're out there. Let's see. No, as far as I know, that is not the truth. No, I've not heard that. He did come back in 2020. I'd have to go search through my notes. I've got for Delphi, I have like I said, I have all these notebooks, but I think I'll go through my files. I've got the my case notification where he was reappointed to come back as a special prosecutor type for working on whatever it was they needed. I thought he was coming back for Delphi specifically to work on the case, because if you remember, when he stepped down, he said that he would come back to Delphi, and he was willing to come back if they ever got the suspect and were ready to get the guy. So that's what I can say about Robert Ives. Sky Purple says, this account, the police were a block away, I believe. Cops from other areas got there first, and 2 were hurt trying to go into the burning house to rescue those little girls. Yes, the Delphi or Carroll County sheriffs, 2 of them, Dunsinger and Yoder, were the 2 that showed up first. I think Drew Yoder got there first, and possibly it might have been the other one. I'm not positive. But anyway, Drew Yoder's the first one who went in. He went in the house multiple times. He ended up with severe burns on his face, on his hands. He had really bad smoke inhalation. He was in the hospital for over a month before he was able to be released. So, yeah, there were there were 2 officers that showed up first. Let's see. Yes, it's very, the house is very easy to see. Flora is not that big. We here in the Midwest call Flora a postage stamp. If you blink, you've missed it. That's the type of town that Flora is. So, so let's go on. Let's move on because I've got something else that I want us to watch. Because you guys were talking about the Resignations. So let's watch this.
Started asking more questions. Things are popping, people are dropping, and we don't understand that.
Delphi investigates reporter Sandra Chapman is just back from Flora tonight, and during her visit there today, she saw tears and heard a call for answers.
They just didn't make it out. She tried, though. She tried to save them.
It's been almost a year since the deadly fire that killed Jacqueline Hartlow's nieces, Kiana, Kiera, Carrielle, and Connie. The tears come easy.
It's like snatched out from under you, just hit from a blind side.
The pain of a stalled arson investigation now more unsettling, with the resignations of a state fire marshal investigator, Carroll County prosecutor, and now the chief of Flora's volunteer fire department.
It doesn't look very good from where we sit, when people resign and quit, but I just would like to know what's really going on.
Volunteer Fire Chief Adam Randall told 13 Investigates he's leaving for family reasons and not because of the investigation, saying he will carry the weight of what happened November 21st, 2016 with him for a long time.
Sorry, guys. I can't turn the volume up on this. This is the volume it was recorded on. This is as high as it goes. My speakers are turned up as high. And I do apologize. Make sure your speaker's up as high as you can get it. But yeah, I can't get it up any higher. I will tell you that they're talking about the resignation of the fire chief, of Robert Ives, and how when the family started asking questions and was trying to get more information because they just didn't think things were adding up, people started resigning and they felt that that was weird and suspicious. Now, when Dennis Randall resigned, he stated that it was for family reasons. And for those of you that don't know, his wife was arrested. She was a treasurer for some county. I don't really remember. But anyway, she was embezzling money, and a lot of it. And she got arrested and in trouble. And so I'm not sure if that's why he resigned or whatever, but he used the reason that it was family related. I just don't know. But let's just listen to the last bit. There's not much more.
State police confirmed the younger Randall had no role in the investigation. His father, Dennis Randall, was the lead investigator until 13 Investigates unveiled some troubling emails questioning his findings. Dennis Randall resigned in June, but Partlow questions the timing of the departures of Prosecutor Robert Ives and the fire chief, after some have accused the family of interjecting race into the case by asking the
Now, that's where they said the family asked the NAACP to step in because the family was concerned that it was racially motivated and could be a hate crime. And they were wondering if that's why people began to step down and whatever. And of course, things can be coincidental, but you have one thing and then you have another thing and another thing and another thing and another thing, and everything just keeps stacking on top of itself. And eventually things just stink. They just smell of rats. I mean, I just don't know how else you can say it, but yeah, she got tagged for theft big time. Yeah, she embezzled money. A lot of it. There it was. Yeah. She worked for a law office and they handled a farm account she embezzled funds from. And it was a large amount of money. I mean, we're not talking just hundreds of dollars. It was a lot. And that's the other thing. I don't think a lot of people are aware that Dennis Randall was the Carroll County Sheriff before he was the fire investigator for the state. So this guy has been around. His resume is long. So he was the sheriff in Carroll County. Let's see. What is this? It is really hard is it really that hard for an IT at the Carroll County Sheriff's Office to set up an online tip account? Say Flora 4 tip. Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think it would be that hard, but I guess the question is the question isn't how hard it would be. The question is why? Why haven't they? Yeah, she did. The vomit. She paid credit cards, house payments, whatever. And she was using it all for personal. She used all the money for personal. She did go to jail or for a while, I believe. Hold on a second and let me see what let me look at something here. Just give me a second, you guys. I wish I could remember her name. Because I have this all in my notes, but I just don't have it pulled up for tonight. Oh. It's Jean Ann. Oh, look at that. I found it pretty quickly. So this is from June 25th of 2022, but this article was written back in 2014. She was accused of felony theft of more than $100,000. She was 56 years old. She's the wife of the former Carroll County Sheriff Dennis Randall. She was charged with 2 counts of theft by Special Prosecutor Anthony Summer of Clinton County. It was a Class C felony charge, and it was for exerting unauthorized control over the property of the Kruger Brothers Partnership, to wit funds held in a First Financial Bright National Bank account with the intent to deprive said person of any part of the use or value of the property, and the fair market value of said property was at least $100,000. In addition, Randall was charged with a Class D felony for exerting unauthorized control over the property of Huffer One Incorporated for an undisclosed amount. A 9-page affidavit signed by the Indiana State Police investigator Greg Edwards detailed a report from the late James Huffer's brother Marion to ISP. Marion Huffer stated he had reviewed records for Huffer 1 after his brother's death in 2010 and discovered that his brother's secretary, Jean Ann Randall, had been keeping the account records for the business and had written several checks to herself and sent some directly to her mortgage company, her vehicle loan company, and insurance company. Huffer stated Randall was never authorized to write checks for personal gain. According to the probable cause affidavit, Abigail Huffer Diener told ISP investigators she had taken ownership of her father's law practice at Aubert, Overholser, Huffer, and Ryder after her father's death. And she said her father, Jim Huffer, practiced law for over 30 years, and Jean Ann Randall was her father's personal secretary for over 16 years. The ISP investigator noted he reviewed checks and could observe 2 different signatures for Jim Huffer. Abigail Huffer Diener identified her father's signature on some checks and not the others. It says the probable cause affidavit further alleges Randall moved roughly $234,000 from individual trusts and investment accounts into a partnership account. The funds were later moved from the partnership account to various accounts that benefited Randall. Those accounts were Jail Meals Incorporated, 7 credit accounts, and a bank loan. Jail Meals was the corporation established by then Sheriff Dennis Randall to manage funds paid to him from Carroll County to feed inmates at the county jail. Randall was interviewed on October of 2013 by Special Investigator Edwards, and he reported in the affidavit that Randall's wife, Jean Ann, did one half of the accounting for Jail Meals Incorporated. The former sheriff stated that after Jim Huffer's death and his wife's firing by Abigail, finances had become very strained, and he said it seemed they were in stable place while Jean Ann was working for Huffer. But since his death, the bills and credits seemed to be more significant. So that's what she took. I don't know what they gave her, but I do know that she was charged, and I do believe that she had to serve some time. There you go. Alicia says she got jail credit for 1 day and 1,094 days suspended. So basically a slap on the wrist. I mean, that's just insane to me. You know, had that been somebody else, and I just want to throw it out there, if it had been you or me or someone of a different stature within the community, we'd have been in jail behind bars for that kind of theft. So, hold on a second here, because there's another. I want to stop this one. We already looked at that one. And this one. And I think this was the one. I thought we might watch this one. This is another short one, you guys. Hopefully we can hear this one better.
Not sustainable. Boom, I made it back so fast this time.
Good afternoon, I'm Scott Swan. We begin today with tragedy inside of this Carroll County home. 4 children, all young girls, killed in an early morning house fire. The fire broke out on East Columbia Street in the town of Flora, Indiana. That's in the northern part of our state. This fan Life has been talking with investigators this morning. Rich, any word what started this fire? Not yet, Scott. Most importantly, though, for right now, our attention is on the 2 law enforcement officers who went into this burning home this morning trying to save the lives of the 4 children trapped inside. We're told Flora police officer Josh Vissinger suffered smoke inhalation. His chief hopes he's going to be out of the hospital today. According to the chief, he pulled sheriff's deputy Drew Yoder out of the burning house, perhaps saving his life. The deputy was burned and suffered severe or serious smoke inhalation. He has been intubated. Doctors are in the hospital with him.
evaluating the damage done to his lungs. The fire started about 3:30 this morning. Neighbors heard noises. They said it looked like fog in the street. Then they heard the screams of the mother and the children trapped inside. The girls, sisters, ranged in age from preschool to the 6th grade.
We were all praying on our front porch and praying that God would just quickly help them move and get the children out. And I guess God had other plans, but I wish it wouldn't happen this way. Can't imagine what the mother's feeling, and my heart really breaks for her.
The mother was also injured in the fire. There's no information on her condition. Authorities here have yet to notify all.
Did you guys catch that? You know, while he's sitting here covering the fire, the morning of, this is at sunrise after the fire happened in the middle of the night. And he's talking about how they're so concerned about the 2 police officers, and they have all of their injuries. They know what's going on with them, but nope, no reports on Galen. We know she was injured, but we don't know anything. Are you kidding me? It's starting, the coverage and the lack of coverage for this family begins right here, in my opinion, in this interview, when he doesn't even talk about her. I mean, I know people in media are quick to want to get their stories out because it's all about viewers and ratings and all of that. But here you have the mother of the 4 children who died in the fire, and you know that she was seriously injured and that she was flown down to the burn unit, and you're not going to try to find out if she's okay, what her condition is, whatever. You're just going to say, nope, we just don't know anything about her yet. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just maddening. It's just maddening. So I'm going to stop that one right there, and we'll stop this screen. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is, believe it or not, in this case, they actually have suspects. I read an article today where they had, I think I have it. Hold on. I think I have it here to watch. You guys will be surprised when you see who it is that's going to talk about it. Here it is. Hang on. Let me share my screen again. Sorry, guys. I had forgot about this one. Oh, this is different. This isn't the same one. Sorry. This is another arson fire that happened in Flora. Hold on a second. This is the arson fire that was set fire to Lauderdale Plumbing and Heating, is this one. But that's not what I wanted to show you. This is the one I wanted to show you. So hang on. Let's go full screen here.
The devastating fatal house fire in Flora. The home was engulfed in flames while a mother and her 4 daughters were still inside.
The mother was the only one to make it out alive. News 18's Kira Lake is live in Flora this morning. What can you tell us about this investigation, Kira?
Sam and Trevor, this is the home behind me on East Columbia Street where that tragedy struck. Now, even though the mother, Galen Rose, chose to move outside of Flora after the fire, there are some family members that chose to stay behind and help Rose seek justice.
It's kind of just like be quiet, because we feel like our girls was left behind in a lot of situations.
On November 21st, 2016, this home on East Columbia Street in Flora was engulfed in flames. Leonie, Kiara, Ariel, and Kiana didn't make it out the home alive, home with their mother, Galen Rose.
It's tough for me to have to hear her cry all the time and not knowing what to say to ease the pain, because none of us would ever know the pain that she goes through.
They were Jacqueline Carlo's great nieces. She says this investigation is frustrating.
There's nothing we can do about it. We're not detectives and everything, so we have to trust and believe that they're going to do the best that they can to help my nieces.
The Indiana State Fire Marshal's office ruled the fire was intentionally set. This announcement was followed by several officials involved in this ongoing investigation resigning. Now, Indiana State Police First Sergeant Jerry Coleman says ISP is the lead investigative agency in this case.
I think what the community wants to know is, are we still actively pursuing the person?
Guys, recognize him? First Sergeant Jerry Holman, lead on Flora.
Responsible for this? Yes, we are.
He says ISP has 2 detectives assigned to this investigation full time.
Yes, we do have solid person of interest in this case.
But he also believes there are people withholding information.
It's very frustrating for the family, very frustrating for the community of Flora, and very frustrating for us.
Coleman says people need to overcome their fear.
We know that we will help them remain anonymous if they have information that will help us put the people behind.
So he says in this, hey, Jennifer, welcome back. So he says here that somebody's withholding information. They have a solid suspect. He said it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for the families. I mean, just listen to what he's saying here.
There's more than $25,000 in reward money to help find the person responsible.
I just pray that the person that did do it have a conscience, and if they don't have a conscience, I hope it runs them crazy.
After the fire, she says she no longer comes to Flora often, even though people she loves are still there.
But at the same time, just to hang out, no. It's painful to stand right here. It's painful to see that thing that says my niece's name's on it where we don't know what happened to him.
Did you guys hear that? Did you hear? Hey, Unsolved. Thank you so much for being here. You have a good evening. So did you guys hear that when she's talking about the bench? The wonderful bench that they made. I believe that was the art teacher from Delphi Middle School who came up with the idea to do a bench. See you later, Unsolved. Have a good evening. And yeah, they misspelled Carrie L's name. They misspelled her name on the bench. It's like, and the sign, look at the sign, hope for help. I mean, I'm sorry. All of it just screams. It just makes me angry, like I said. But anyway, I thought that this interview with Holman was worth noting.
They died there. That's painful stuff. So coming through here is painful.
For the memorial, Carlo hopes at least a few people come out and remember the little girls. She's not hoping for a crowd, but would appreciate a turnout. But as for family and friends,
we're going to be here regardless. I know I will. If I have to stand out here by myself and let those balloons go, I will stand out here by myself.
That just breaks my heart. Just absolutely breaks my heart. 2 years after the fires, their great aunt is standing there almost in tears saying, if I have to stand on that street corner by myself and release balloons, I will. Can you imagine not being able to get your community behind you in droves to remember these precious girls? And to do a bench is fine. I'm not against a bench, but good Lord, if you're going to do it, make sure you get it right. And if it's wrong, you fix it. You do a new bench. You don't put up a bench in this situation with one of the girls' names spelled wrong. Somebody says, oh, that's just the way things happen. If that was your child, how would you feel? How would you feel if that was your baby? that was out there for the rest of the world to see on a bench somewhere with their name misspelled. I mean, there's just so much, like I said, to go on in this case about what, I mean, it just, like I said, we could go on, but there is a lot more. And like I said, I really can't wait for, excuse me. Sorry, for, Unsolved to get her new video up, because there's going to be a lot more that's going to put things together and make you really question whether or not these two cases really might be connected. Because again, there's obvious reasons why people would want to say that they're not. But what got me is how quickly they said that they weren't connected. And that, to me, was something that shouldn't have happened until there was more investigations done. And it's real easy, like I said, to sit out there and play armchair quarterback and look back on these cases and say, well, this should have happened and this should have happened. And I don't want to completely sound like I'm bashing law enforcement, because trust me, they have such a hard job, and 99% of them are there. Cordy, thank you so much. You are super wonderful. Thank you so, so much. I'm pushing. I'm trying. I am certainly trying. Thank you so much for being here. You are very much welcome in my channel. I wish you would speak more, because you have some really good things to say. I've heard you say them. So, but what I was trying to get at with that is, let's not just make it a bashing of law enforcement, because I guarantee you there are law enforcement officers that are surrounded in both of these cases and all of these cases that really want justice for these girls, and they're working hard to get it. But I think that there is somebody out there that doesn't want these cases solved, and this one particularly. And I definitely think that we can't always just hide our heads in the sand and pretend like these things aren't happening, because then we overlook really important evidence and information. And Truth Justice, I think you're right, because I do think there's some powerful people. Just stop and think about the owner of the house where Galen lived. They are some of the wealthiest people in Flora, and they've been there for years. So you have to look at that. You do, because in these small towns, you have those types of people, and they basically run everything. So I look at these pictures of them, and they were such beautiful children. Look at her little face. I mean, just amazing little girls, and so full of love. To just give a stranger a card and thanking them on Veterans Day, I mean, for their service. How wonderful. That just absolutely touched my heart. And, he has that forever to hold on to, that she did that. And she said that she loved him. So, they can say what they want to about Galen and what kind of life she may have had. And, if she, whether or not she smoked marijuana or she did this or she did that, she was raising loving, caring children. Everybody who talked about those girls couldn't say anything bad about them. And they deserve justice, you guys. They do. She was raising some beautiful children. I mean, she was doing her very best. She had them in sports. She had them in cheerleading. She was taking them to cheerleading competitions in Lafayette and other places. That is a very expensive hobby, just so you know. And she was doing it. She was trying to keep her girls on this, you know, on a path, and she was doing a really good job. So, yeah, Jennifer, you should know about that, hun. You can talk about what it's like to be a cheerleader. Jennifer was a cheerleader for tell him, Jennifer. Tell him who you were a cheerleader for. I'm not gonna throw it out there. But yeah, she was a great mother. And yeah, Perry has talked about that there might be a person in power or a family in power that don't want these cases solved. So there you go. There, she said it. St. Louis Rams. So Jennifer Rochelle, it was a cheerleader for the St. Louis Rams. So there you go. We have a couple famous people in our community here, and they bring greatness to the channel. I appreciate everything that Jennifer does. She does so much behind the scenes with Nightbot and help keeping him running to help keep our channel, you know, nice and orderly, and everyone following along well. So you know what? Anything is possible. There could have been a lot of things that go on that happened here, but you know, Digital, I don't want to go too far out into the speculation realm, but you know, there's a lot of things that we need to be looking at. And you have to be careful, because you got to remember, you got to place whoever you're talking about, you have to be able to place them at the scene of the crime. You have to be able to make sure that they had the ability to commit the crime, and what would their motive possibly have been. And if we're dealing with a serial arsonist, well, there you go. So if it was for insurance, you know, obviously that can be a reason as well, to collect on insurance. But yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine, Jennifer. I can't even imagine her having all those girls in cheer, all 4 of them. It had to have been a really big deal to get that stuff ready. But I saw their cheer pictures, and they're just adorable. Yeah, the Flora fire it was big news. Everybody was talking about it. And then Delphi happened, and Flora became like, it just didn't get talked about anymore. And in fact, the narrative came to be, let's not compare these. They're not the same. No, because people thought about it. People thought, oh my gosh, 4 girls were just killed in a fire in its arson in Flora. And now we have 2 girls murdered out here on the Monon High Bridge, 8 miles away. You know, what's happening? So it's just, I don't know, it's just mind-boggling. But anyway, guys, that's my show for tonight. I'm so glad that you guys all came. I know that I didn't do my missing person tonight, and I will get that person done. We'll do 2 missing people on Tuesday. I just had a lot going on, and I didn't get a chance to pull one up. Jennifer, I hope not too, but you know, honestly, I'm really believing with everything that we're finding that it's very likely or highly possible. So just because of the area, and there's so many hate groups in that area of the country, and they're active. So, oh, True Crime Web, you are so nice. Thank you so much. We all need our faith restored in mankind after what happened yesterday in our world. I don't know what the world is coming to, honestly. I really don't. It's scary. I'm thankful that I have grandsons. That's what I can tell you on that subject. Yeah, me either, Jennifer. People who think they're superior simply because of their skin color or their ethnicity is the low of the low. Yep, you're absolutely right, Jennifer. It's exactly what I thought of. And, you know, I was alive and well when it was passed the first time, and I had tears yesterday. So, yeah, it's sad. But anyway, I don't want to get into the political discussion on the channel, but you know that when we have to start talking about these tough subjects, nobody gets to, you're absolutely right, gets to choose your skin color or what family you're born into. That's who you are, you know, and it's the intolerance that we have yes, I have read the book as well. If the intolerance that we have in our world is something that we cannot overlook, and we need to stand up and fight against it at every chance. But I hope all of you have a great rest of your weekend. It's still storming here at my house, but at least we do not have, we didn't lose the lights, we didn't lose the electricity, and I was able to get through my show with you. Meow, thank you so much. You are equally amazing. Everybody, please go to Reddit and look up the Flora 4 Reddit sub, because Meow is doing great work there as well. And I can't say enough about that. They are really, I figured, Jennifer, it was coming your way. I'm sorry. I knew it was. It's coming Tech Desk way too. So you guys are all going to get bombarded. I got it first. And yes, and also look up Truth Justice's subreddit, the Flora Fire. Those subreddits need to explode. We need more people reading them, sharing them, and getting the word out. When you sit and look at who's following what cases, that's another thing. But thank you guys so much. I love all of you for coming and being here with me. I so appreciate you. And I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend and be safe out there. Good night.